Good evening. We still have 2 minutes before we officially start. Good evening. We still have about 1 minute. So for those of you that are here and have not placed your name and your campus in the chat, please do so at this time. Good evening. And if you're having computer issues, please document it in the chat. Like, I'm not sure why my computer's not. I look like I'm in a dark room or something. I'm not sure what that is. But it's 7:30 or 8:30 Eastern Standard Time, and we will officially call our class to order, and we'll say that we have opened. Welcome. Welcome to everyone. We'll give you a minute or so to place your name and your campus in the chat. I'm going to pull up our agenda here so you can see what our roadmap for this evening. But if you will go ahead and place your name, your first and your last name in the chat as well. Ensure that your name on your square does have your first name and your last name. Did everyone find the Zoom link okay to get in, or were you running into some issues? Because we're missing a lot of people. I was just wondering, were you having problems, or did everything work out okay?
No, it was fine.
It was fine. Okay, great. Well, we will move forward again. Welcome to everyone. Welcome to leadership. Your cameras must be on at all times. In the event that you have to walk away from the camera to do something, place a message in the chat to myself. Also, leave your camera on. Just as a reminder, these sessions are reviewed by the attendance coordinators. So it is very important that you arrive on time. Usually the Zoom is open, plenty enough time for you to log in and therefore go and finish up whatever loose ends that you have to tie up. But as a reminder, these sessions are recorded. You are being requested to keep your camera on at all times. Even if you have to walk away from the camera for whatever reason, place a message in the chat to me. You don't have to send it to everyone. And as a reminder too, these sessions are recorded and they're viewed by the attendance coordinator, just so that you can make an informed decision. So you say, so you won't say you didn't know. All right, so welcome. I am Dr. Morton Ford. First name is Shalisha. And so we'll start off with, let me show you the agenda, and I'll stay as close as I can to the time, because you all just get so involved and I get to talking and we just run over time, but not over class time, but over like our agenda. We kind of run over by just a few minutes. I'm going to share my screen here. While I am pulling that up, if you would place your name in the chat, your name and your campus in the chat. And here we go. And if you're having computer problems, please document that, or camera issues or whatever connectivity, place it in the chat, because like I say, that will be your documentation, because this video is their view by the attendance coordinator. So place it in there. So, it will be documented. So by now you should type your name and your campus in the chat. I'll do a brief introduction of myself. We'll go through the new orientation PowerPoint. We'll look at the syllabus, the modules, and if we have time, we'll do a little group work at the end. And so this is the time frame that I'm going to try to adhere to. So we're going to do an hour, a break, an hour, then a break, and then we'll go on into the last few minutes of class. So with that being said, on Eastern Standard Time, so our first hour, we're looking at 8:30 to 9:30-ish. Our first break around 9:30 to 9:40. We do get 2 10-minute breaks. Then we'll go for another hour, about 9:40-ish to 10:40-ish, plus minus a couple of minutes. And then we'll take another break. And then the last 30 minutes or so of class. And then that should take us on out. I have set some alarms, so hopefully my phone does what it's supposed to do to keep us on task. So this is our plan. So I'll start off with a brief introduction of myself. I'm going to stop sharing. Okay, as I mentioned, several of you have already met before, but I'm Dr. Shalisha Morton Ford. And just a bit about myself. I've worked in various settings, and that was purposeful so that I could learn all I could learn, be all I can be, so to speak, as the Army would say. So I worked in the ICU setting, long-term care, school nursing, state facility inspector. I'm in the state of Alabama. Civilian nurse for the Air Force, high school educator, mental health advocate. Right now, I just advocate for overall health and also breast cancer survivors. And that's just something that I've just do on the side. With that, I actually do like these videos, these voice overs over the radios, just providing information to the listeners. And then with the breast cancer advocate, I actually have what I call sister to sister or brother to brother network, where I follow these people every month, and whatever it is that they need, I identify resources. If it's just a conversation, if it's getting their calendar together so that they can arrange their appointments, so they can remind their family members about their appointments. And it's everything from A to Z. And with that, recently, one of the sister to sisters, she is a 2-time breast cancer survivor. And she's been out to Texas, and she didn't find out that she had breast cancer the traditional way, like through a mammogram, so to speak. But nevertheless, she did. She's a 2-time survivor. And our conversation for this month, she just went in for her just regular routine, and they're thinking it's back. So that she's faced with trying to figure out what are her next steps. So mental health advocate, that's just everything from A to Z. Hey, you need me to go pick up groceries, where's your list? Nursing school, clinical adjunct, as well as lab and simulator instructor. Currently, I am a clinical nurse researcher. Our focus is heart and lung, blood disorders, and sleep disorders, and we are funded by the National Institute of Health. That's just a little bit about myself. On the side, I am a farmer. My peas, I have purple whole peas, they're doing fine. My squash are doing fine. I see this book, you gritted, yes. At the end of the day, you have to have a nice balance of, things. And so that's how I unwind. I'm a peddler. Hey, I'm a little person that's beside the road with my peddler's license selling watermelon and peas. Yes, that is me. I have my hoe, my shovel, my big boots, my little apron thing, my gloves, and all of that. So, but you do have to have a nice mix of things just to keep yourself grounded, because there is so much going on. So enough about me. Let's move on to the course here. So just as a reminder, the expectation is that your cameras are on at all times, even if you have to walk away for something, and just put a message in the chat in the event that you need to. Okay, let me pull up our PowerPoint presentation here. I am going to share my screen. I'm going to attempt to show it via slideshow, but sometimes the connectivity and the user, meaning me, sometimes it didn't work out like that. So here we go, slideshow. Okay. From the beginning. So of course, this is an online course. The only difference is that we're not like really in person, it is online, but I'm real, you're real, our challenges are real via in the course, outside the course, understanding the assignment, needing assistance with the assignment, all those things are still the same. We're just not in the same setting, so to speak. We are in the same virtual setting, but not in the brick and mortar setting. So all of those things that apply in person still do apply online. You should be respectful. Your space should be structured. You should create that space that you will sit in during your online live portion, as well as when you're studying and completing assignments. You will have assignments that are due. You have exams. In the event that you need the exam proctored, you do have the option of taking those exams in person with the appropriate things and put in place. So we'll talk about that once we actually get down to the exam portion. But the online course includes weekly homework and assignments, learning activities. There are quizzes starting week 2. There are quizzes. There are 3 exams in this course. And also you have that specialty exam at the end, the HESI. So there is really no difference other than we're not actually sitting in a brick and mortar. We're just in a virtual setting. The same thing applies. We do want to encourage you to do your best on all assignments, on all tasks, because everything matters. Every point, everything matters. So who to contact? And I'm your person of contact initially, but in the event that I'm not responding, or you're not satisfied with the response, the solution that I provided, we do have a course lead, Professor Marvel, and then our dean, National Dean, is Dean Brown. So we do ask that you first start with me, the instructor, and then move your way up the chain. In the event that I don't have an answer for you, I will say, hey, I need you to send this email out to myself, the course lead, and Dean Brown, just to loop them in so that they can identify a resource or a solution for whatever it is the issue is that's going on. So in all your courses, you want to start with your course instructor, and then the leads, and then of course your dean, your campus dean, and then plus the national dean that's online is Dean Brown. So I do have email, and everyone's email is pretty much the same, first name, last name @Fortis. And then my personal phone number is in the course room. It's under my about your instructor. So for the most part, we do text. I do answer the phone if it's, if I can. So you can contact me via phone and or in the course email, or on the outside email, in the Fortis email, the Canvas email or the Fortis email. Okay, so remember communication etiquette. Don't use all caps. That's considered to be offensive, that you're yelling. Keep comments relevant to the discussion topics. In the event that we need to identify outside resources, counselors, that can, when I say counselors, that's from anywhere from financial to home life, anything like that, we can identify those, but still keep the communication relevant to the topic. Well, hey, I have an issue going on. It is not related to the topics that we're discussing this week, but what's going on is going to affect my ability to complete tasks. So then we might need to identify a counselor. So that's what I mean by keep the comments relevant to the discussion topics. Remember, it is a Fortis email, and it kind of sort of belongs to them too as well. So just make sure you do that. Be courteous and positive and respectful when you're communicating with myself and also your team members, whether that's via email or we're in groups a lot of times. So make sure that you're being courteous and positive and respectful. We can agree to disagree and still be respectful. And just remember, sometimes things that are you consider humorous, that we think are humorous, they might not be to the other person. But once that's identified that it's not, receive it and apologize and move forward. So the online courses, we actually had 2 sections. And so it appeared that there should be more students here, but I'm not sure if they are in a different course. I know the plan was to cancel one of the courses and then move the students around wherever it was a best fit for them. And so you all were asked not to post in that. If you were in that other course, hopefully you didn't post anything in there, because it'll just go away after so long. And so that information will be just lost. So Dean Brown did post, make an announcement saying, hey, do not post in that course, in that section, but to wait on to be moved to the other course. So hopefully you all did that. Hopefully you did that. Most of you, a few of you all have already started on the discussion for this week. So you're in the right course from what I can tell, because the other section is the one that they will be canceling. So be sure to pay attention. If you're like me, I have a electronic calendar, I have a paper calendar. You need to write things down, even if you end up having to move things around, but at least put deadlines of when hard deadlines. You may want to create some soft deadlines of when things are due, so that you're always on. When I say soft deadlines, if it's due on a Sunday, on your calendar, put that it's due on a Saturday. So that still gives you that little leeway in the event that something happens, life happens, or just don't want to happen, that you still are good and you will be on time for turning your things that are due on those Sundays by midnight. So for discussion boards, the initial post should be done by Wednesday, with responses to 2 peers by midnight on that Sunday. So all the due dates are in the module, but just know everything is pretty much due every Sunday. But that initial post is due that Wednesday, but your responses are due on that Sunday. And in the event that I say something during this PowerPoint presentation, please stop me if you need things clarified. Late work policy, submit on time. Late work is only accepted with prior approval from the instructor. So if you foresee something occurring, doctor's appointment, family member having to go out of town for whatever reason, of course, remember we're going to ask for documentation, and usually Dean Brown, the course leader, actually brought in that communication just to make sure that we're following Fortis's rules and policies. So in the event that it is accepted, if you turn in work between 1 and 7 days late, it will result in a 10% deduction. 8 or more days will result in a 0 for the assignment. So again, going back to that calendar, whether or not you need the paper calendar and or the electronic calendar, go ahead and set your reminders. Go ahead and start working on those things that you can, because things happen. And so in the event that you're pre-planning, in the event that something happens, you still would be okay. You will be within that time frame. All right, attendance in the online course. Attendance will be only recorded during your assigned live sessions time. I think we do have one holiday that we'll get guidance on what to do over in September about um that day. Because usually most holidays here lately have been falling on, most of them fall on Mondays. And so this is a Monday course. And they're usually at the beginning of the month. So we usually receive guidance from Dean Brown about what to do to make up or to count for your attendance in the event that we don't meet on a Monday. And in the past, I'm not saying this is what it will be in September, but in the past, you had to attend another session or I had to record a session and you had to watch the session and also complete an assignment. I am not sure, but they'll give us guidance on that. Attendance were recorded during assigned live sessions only. Attendance is taken by the instructor during the live session. Remember, we are on Zoom. Zoom tells us when you log in, when you log out. Those those reports, the usage reports, they are uploaded every week. And so that is their timestamp. So just so that you can make an informed decision. In addition to us submitting, Dr. Ford was 8:01 clocking in, and she left at 10:01. All of that is captured on there. That form is submitted and uploaded with the attendance. And so just to let you know, anything from one after the hour, for example, we were supposed to meet at 7:30 my time, 8:30 your time, if you're Eastern Standard. At that 7:31 or 8:31, that counts, that's 15 minutes of time. 15 attendance miss will be recorded in 15-minute increments that will count against you. That's minus your time. So anyone without posting attendance 14 days in a row will be dropped without notification. Your camera has to be on the entire time. Camera cannot be pointed toward the ceiling. Anyone at work or driving will be removed from the session. Anyone not coming on camera after being asked to will also be removed. And just as a reminder, it is recorded and they are viewed. Any questions about this attendance? And as hopefully you don't build up minutes lost, but if you do, you will receive a report. And after so many minutes lost, no matter what your score is, your grade has a possibility of dropping by a whole letter grade. So as I mentioned earlier, everything matters. All assignments, your timeliness from clocking in, being on time, it does matter. It really do. There's no makeup for missed attendance. There is no makeup for missed attendance. Like I said, only thing I can think of is during those holidays or something happens in your area and the campus dean and the national dean, they will give us an alternate. I think one term it was the weather. It was, I forget, was it hurricane? Something, it was one of those hurricanes or one of those huge storms. And so the campus was closed. So in the event that something like that happens, then they'll give us instructions as what to do to to make up for that attendance. But no, come in, clock in on time. Usually the Zoom is open way enough ahead of time for you to, Zoom in. And then if you have to type some loose ends, you can do that. Again, there is no makeup for missed attendance. Attendance is taken daily in the class by the instructor and is turned into the registrar's office. And I say the attendance administrators or the registrar's office. And literally the report, Zoom timestamps us doing everything. Early departures and tardies, all of that is looked at. Attendance records are maintained by the registrar as part of your permanent academic record. Students with a chronic absenteeism in excess of 20% of the scheduled hours for a course may receive a failing or reduced course grade. So anything from 1 minute after the class starts, that's a whole 15 minutes that you've lost. So if you know you're running, trying to finish something, I'd rather you go ahead and log in, whenever that Zoom opens up, usually anywhere from, sometimes I open up 30 minutes, sometimes that's too early though, but for sure about 15 minutes prior to class start is open. because students with chronic absenteeism with an excess of 20% of scheduled hours for a course may receive a failing or reduced grade for that course. So each week, if you're clocking in, 1 minute after the hour, that's 15 minutes. Next week is 30 minutes, it's 45 minutes. If it becomes 20% of that, you're at jeopardy for receiving a reduced grade or failing. Students who are absent for more than 20% of the time will receive a full letter grade deduction. And they usually, before you get to that, there's usually an announcement or some type of notification that you will get. The online office pull attendance weekly. The student who is at 5% scheduled time absent, you will receive an email at that time. Then if you're at 10%, you will be required to meet with the dean, myself, your campus dean. And then, because we try to see what's going on prior to you receiving that 20%. And so, everything matters is all I can say. Everything matters. A student who is at 15% of scheduled time absent will be required to meet with myself and the campus administration. The level of intervention will be reliant upon the amount of time missed, and a student may not receive all levels of warnings prior to missing the 20%. So it is their plan to send you those notifications as you accrue and meet the 5% or the 10% or the 15%. But this is saying you may not receive all levels of warning. So he was like, so for example, you say, well, I haven't received the email, so I must be okay. But you know that you have been clocking in late. These reports are turned in weekly. The videos are turned in weekly. So it is all there. This is not for fake, you all. This is real. So make sure that you're here. Okay, so steps to success. Review your work that is due each week. So each week we post the announcement, and it's just a reminder. You just kind of pull, like you have your syllabus and your module all there together. But each week we make these weekly announcements. We try to pull what's due for that week, so we can narrow your focus, so you can just stay focused on what is due for that week. So you can complete those assignments so that you can ask those questions that you need to ask. And also that you can plan, because there are some assignments that are not due until I want to say there's a paper. We'll look at it once we actually get to the modules. But starting this week, you should start preparing for an assignment that's not due until week 6 or 7, because it takes all of that time to actually complete the assignment. You want to complete the reading assignments each week. The reading assignments helps you understand how to complete the assignment. It gives you that data. It helps you to identify topics and things that you might need to look into closer or more at. You might need to look at some videos on some of the topics. But so by completing the reading assignment, it's like your guide. It's very, very important. You want to complete the interactive lessons each week. Attend the live sessions weekly to get a better understanding of the concepts. Coming to class is mandatory on Zoom. It is mandatory. Now, if you're in a class prior to this class on campus, and if it's possible and you can't make it home before it's time to log into Zoom, so you won't lose your points, you might have that. There might be, I don't know, you might want to check with your campus dean to see if there's some type of accommodation that can be provided for you, so that a space, because even though the campuses are closed, there's usually security 24/7. I don't know, but you can check out, you can see if there's some resource or a room, or if there's someone or something that can be done, because we don't want you on the road trying to get home rushing, because there's a short time frame between the previous class and this class. But you all might not have that issue. I know some earlier classes, there's an issue with the class prior to the online class was on campus, and then they were rushing home trying to get home to do the online class, when they could just stayed at school and on campus and did the online class. But you know what your challenges are, identify them early on, and let's see if we can identify some resources to meet those challenges. Carefully read the directions and rubrics to all assignments before starting them. So that's going to be your guide, and it narrows your focus on what it is that you have to do. Because you can look at a topic, paper, presentation, and your mind can go all over the place. But once you read the directions in the rubric, it'll refocus you, and it'll help you come up with a plan as what you need to do to complete the actual assignment. You want to complete all assignments. I can't tell you enough. Everything matters. Even though the key graded assignments, you must have that 78% on those before your homework and assignment, the other assignments are counted. Everything still matters. Everything still matters. Because in the event that you are half of a point or a point away from that KGA, if you don't meet it within those assignments, we can't give extra work. So that's why I say everything matters. Complete all assignments, study and complete quizzes and exams. I do usually do like a review, and then I'll post that in the announcements just as a review for your quizzes. Also, we do have the live exam reviews. We haven't posted our schedule yet, but you will have that. And that is voluntary. You can attend all of them. You can attend whichever ones you like. And also, usually we share the link so that you can go back and review them as many times as you like as well. But plan to attend some live ones if you can, because therefore you can add, if there's a concept or something that's being discussed, you have the opportunity right then and there to go ahead and get some clarity. So to be successful, you really do need to keep in contact with me, the instructor. In the event, no matter how big or small things are initially, something can seem kind of small. Well, okay, I'm just going to miss a few minutes of class because I don't know, someone just bumped your car. You just waiting on the police to finish up the report. Communicate that, because sometimes it can take longer than what we actually think. So stay in that constant communication with things that are happening. We know that life happens to all of us. Have a reliable internet connection and computer and laptop. Now, connectivity, it has been an issue for all of us at some point in time. Depends on, here lately, we've been having all these storms. So even though you have that reliable internet, if a storm is going on, your internet may not be so reliable. But still, in the event that you need to stay on campus or go to campus for any of your courses, identify that for yourself and go to campus, because the internet is there, the connectivity is there. You can, I'm sure, use one of the computers that's in the learning labs that most campuses have. Some campuses even have it where you can check out a laptop. Not sure about your campus, but it's worth finding out if that's something that you think that you need. Maintain a schedule for completing your schoolwork. Set yourself, have dates with yourself, dates with your book, dates with your assignments. Put it on your calendar. I need to get this done, because all assignments, they do matter. You want to identify a quiet place, free from distractions, to complete your work. Even if you have to get up from that quiet place and, get some stirring around, as they say, and see what everybody else is doing in the other part of the house. But at some point, come back to your quiet space so that you can complete your assignments. Read all assignments and directions carefully. I'm not sure, I have to, once we get to the modules, we'll look at it. But for the most part, if you have a group assignment, whether in this class or any of your other classes, for the most part, everyone turns in the same assignment. You still have to turn that assignment in, but we'll look at that more in detail. I don't want to cross over classes, but group assignments, everyone should take part in it, and then turn the assignment in, each person, even if yes, you all are turning the same exact assignment, but that's part of group work. Okay, to be successful, log into your class 4 to 5 times a week to stay connected and engaged. So throughout, as we identify resources, which we have identified another math resource, so I'll post that video. But as we find out resources or we learn things that you all need to know about, we post it in the announcement section. So make sure you're logging into all of your classes just so that you can be in the know what is going on. So you can stay connected and engaged. so that you can communicate with the instructor about what it is that you need to know, or if you need clarification, so that we can provide that. You want to review your course announcements at least weekly, more than that, but at least weekly. Submit all assignments on the week when they are due, including your discussions. Like this first week, you do have that one discussion where you are introducing yourself and you're telling us why you have chosen nursing. And also you're giving us some information about your state board. And all of the assignments, and it's just not something that we're just making up for you to do, but all of them are tools that you need for your toolbox for your career as moving forward as being that nurse. And so you identifying the different settings that you're in, you're introducing yourself. When you go out for your interviews, you're gonna have to introduce yourself. They're gonna say, well, tell me about yourself. So you're getting your tools for your nursing career. So just embrace all of the assignments, just figure out what it is that you need to do and move forward with it. Submit all assignments on the week when they are due, including discussions. So the end of each week, review assignments for the next week. So you can go ahead and start pre-planning. I know I had I thought it was my best friend, but I found out it wasn't my best friend. Procrastination wasn't my best friend. I don't know if any of you all have been faced with that, but do not procrastinate. Take it from me, don't procrastinate. If you don't get those seeds in the ground, if you don't get that soil turned over, your crop is not going to do well. If you don't go out there and put up your stuff so the animals won't get in, then you won't fare that well with your crops, your harvest for that season, as well as your schoolwork. If you don't get those things turned in on time, as we mentioned earlier, days 1 through 7, it's a 10% deduction. That's automatically, you can have a perfect assignment, 10% of your points are gone just because it's not turned in on time. So procrastination is not your friend. I'm here to tell you. Okay, getting started, keys to success. Day 1 of the term, log into Canvas. Canvas by now, I think everyone should have logged in. You want to, for those of you that have had council classes, make sure that we've advised you not to turn in work, because they have foreseen the classes that would have been canceled. So if you have submitted work in the class that will be canceled, hopefully you have it saved somewhere, because that information will just go away as though it has never existed. And therefore you would need to repost it in the class or the course room that you're actually in. In the event that you're having problems with Canvas, submit a help desk ticket to get assistance with that. One of your online courses, open all of your online courses just to make sure that you're in the right course, because sometimes, things happen, you really can't explain it, but they have like these things that are pre-set up sometimes. And you might be in a course that you've already taken and passed, and you don't need to be in that course. So make sure that you open up each online course, ensure that it is the correct course, and start your work in there. You have to do your syllabus check and all those different assignments initially. You want to write down our contact information, put it in your phone, because you just never know. So that you'll have us, on speed dial in the event that you need to contact us for something short notice. Print or either save your syllabus to your phone, to your computer, or add it to your hard copy to your calendar. You want to review your course syllabus, because that's our contract. Those are the things that you will be held accountable for and graded upon. As I mentioned earlier, there is no extra work. So you want to ensure that we have all of your assignments and everything on your calendar.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
So the class that you're talking about that's overlapping, are you talking about community?
That's overlapping. Go in more detail. What are you talking about?
Are you talking about community? Because this is leadership, right?
What do you mean by overlapping? Being on campus?
Are you my community teacher also?
I might be.
You will be?
I might. And what I'm talking about is some people have courses are doing, they have a lab or something on campus, and then
Oh,
they have
okay.
to rush and then try to get home to do that online course. You really don't have to, you really can
I'm
just on campus.
Okay, I'm just seeing where I have community this term and you're my teacher also. So
Mhm.
that's correct?
That's correct. That's
Okay, okay.
yeah.
I'm just making sure. Thank you.
Yes, that's correct. I'm still that
All right.
same person, community,
All
RN,
right.
PN, and leadership.
Okay, just making sure.
Yes. And then I think they kind of fixed it, but one term we had it where I want to say, was it P's or OB? Kind of, it really did overlap. So they were getting out. So we kind of, even though our official start time was, for example, 8 o'clock, P's or OB or whatever that class was officially ended at 8 o'clock. And so it was like, so we allowed that little time. But I think they kind of fixed that in the schedule. So that's not a problem. But if you're on campus for something, you're doing that Sims lab and you have an online course, whether this one or another one, within an hour, if you think if you don't think it's feasible for you to try to rush home, just stay on campus and attend the course. That's fine. And also we'll talk about it once we actually get to the exams. In the event that you think you need to have that exam proctored on campus, there are some steps and things that you can do, take, and so that you can have that exam proctored on campus as well. So come to class prepared to discuss the concepts, to have your questions answered. You want to attend all review sessions. Like I said, the exam review sessions are, they're not mandatory. They are really strongly encouraged, because that's another opportunity to have that one-on-one, because they're usually low attendance, but in the event that you attend, that's some more one-on-one. And I've also posted a Google Doc sometimes and dates. If you want to go ahead and start meeting, just log into that Google Doc and fill out your time, and then we'll meet. Now, we don't have to meet on Zoom. We can meet over the phone during that time that you have picked out to meet one-on-one. You want to meet with faculty to discuss difficult concepts during our office hours. My course syllabus sheet does show my office hours. It's on Tuesdays, 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. And so, or either 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, or look at my cover sheet and see what I do have office hours. And then in addition to that, I do have a Google Doc where you can go in and that's additional time if you want to meet one-on-one. So just fill out that doc and I'll look at it and then we'll meet. If you're having technical difficulties logging in, as I mentioned earlier, contact the technical support. It says, or your instructor, but I'm going to refer you to the help desk, submit a help ticket. And sometimes things just happen. It be just little stuff. I'm not really sure what happens, but sometimes it happens. But they're really, really good about helping and figuring out what's going on, from ExamSoft up until the Canvas, all of those things, all these different resources we use. The people that are there to assist us to help work out what the problems are, they have been really, really good. So don't be afraid to submit that help ticket. Okay, other learning activities, weekly review sessions. They're not mandatory, which we talked about that, but they're highly encouraged. They're sessions that are held outside of class time. I have office hours. Also, I have that Google Doc. Encouraged to attend review sessions of other instructors, because we just hearing content for one numerous of times guarantees you understanding it. So if you go over something, is it 27 times or 37 times? I can't remember the exact number. But even if you were not trying to learn something, just because you have had that repetitiveness of seeing or hearing about something is just etched into your mind. So we encourage you to attend all review sessions. And if you can't attend them, at least look at the recordings and just hearing the same thing in a different way. That helps for you to better understand the concept. Attendance is taken at the review sessions. It helps us in case you start to struggle. It helps us to identify, well, hey, if you're not attending the sessions, if you're not attending any of the one-on-one sessions that we are offering, you might need to. So attendance is recorded. Those videos are recorded as well. One-on-one tutoring is offered. That's that Google Doc sheet that I was telling you about. So just look at that and see if, any of those dates and times, and they're different from our class time. So, it should be, if you need that one-on-one, it should be something out there, a time and day that we can get together to talk about, the concepts. All instructors offer tutoring, just ask us. And in the event that Google, I want you to go to that Google Doc form first and see if any of those times work for you. In the event that those, they're not working for you, then just communicate that and we'll see what else we can, we can get in. So students that participate actively in these two interventions tend to have a higher testing scores, as many as 20 points higher. And they have, kept the data on this. They have even, and as you can see, the announcement from Dean Brown, the welcome announcement, she actually put in comments from other students, and they have said, hey, these things, didn't think it was going to help, but it really did. It didn't matter at the end of the day. So studies, the data has shown that one-on-one and attending those live review sessions and those recordings have tremendous 20 points. That's a lot of points. Have improved people's scores, student scores, performance by 20 points. You might can't attend one-on-one every week, but you should get you some in here and there. But at the end of the day, whatever, you identify that your need is, but we are here. We are here. And this is 80% KGA, but it's 78%. It's 78%. And so halfway, week 6, going into week 7, we turn on the homework grades so that you can see what your average looks like. But remember, your key graded assignments, the KGAs, must be 78% prior to the homework grades actually counting. So if you have a 77%, it doesn't matter what the other grades are, the homework grades add up to be, because you don't qualify to add in the homework grades because the 78% has not been met. That hasn't been fulfilled. So even though it may look like the homework grades will bump you on up, but you still have to meet that first requirement, which is 78% on key graded assignments, which is the unit exams, your quizzes, and that specialty exam. Your professional development plan, your position paper, and your NCLEX. Those are all of your homework grades. And the key KGA, let me go back and just clarify, make sure I didn't mix you up. Key graded assignments are unit exam, quizzes, and the specialty exam, the HESI, just those 3. Now the other, the professional development plan, position paper, and the NCLEX questions and discussion questions and the Zoom sessions, they all play a part. But you must have that 78% on the exams, quizzes, and this specialty exam. The specialty exam is always taken in week 11. That's at the end. And we'll look at your unit exams, because I believe your first one is week 4, but we'll look at those as we go through the syllabus here. Okay, week 1 through 5, as I just mentioned, homework scores are off. So only thing that you will see are the KGA. Even though you're turning in homework grades and other assignments, the only average that you will see will be the key graded assignment average. At week 6, going into week 7, we turn on the homework scores, and it shows the impact of missing homework. But still, remember, key graded assignments must be 78% before we can actually, once you get to the end, before we can actually add in those grades. Week 8 homework scores will be turned off, and then you go back to that KGA, the key graded assignments, which is the first thing that you must meet anyways in order for your homework scores to be added in. Any questions about that homework scores? Because I know you'll say, well, my score went up, it went down. Keep in mind that it must be 78%. It may go up or down, but do you have at least 78% with that key graded assignment? Keep that in mind. That's why I say everything matters. The tutoring sessions, the one-on-one, all these things, they matter. But again, you identify what resources that you might need so that you can at least be at that 78%. Your combined score on all quizzes, unit exams, and specialty exams in the course must be 78% or above before any credit for completed homework is given. A minimum passing grade of a C+, which is a 78%, is required for successful completion of the course after the homework scores have been added. Quizzes are part of the KGA and will be completed in class. We will have our first quiz on next week. We will take the quiz. The first two quizzes will give, we're letting you adjust, get back in the swing of things. So quiz 1 and quiz 2, we'll give them toward the end of class, but moving in quiz 3, 4, and 5, we'll go ahead and just knock those out when we first come in. Therefore, you won't get mixed up with your content, and, and your focus will be on, your learning, your activities for that week, rather than, oh, okay, I got this quiz. So with quiz 1 and 2, we'll wait until the end of class to give those. Your quizzes, don't take a quiz. It should be on anyways, where you can actually access them. The quizzes will be given in class.
And the quizzes are on the content learned that week.
It is. And also
Okay.
do a recording to narrow down those concepts too. I'll do at least a voice recording reviewing the content also for your quizzes.
Okay.
So be looking out for that each week. And we do have a total of 5 quizzes. And then we have those 3 exams. And then that 1 specialty exam. Quizzes are designed to be given at the beginning of class to allow the faculty insight into the concepts that we need to go back over. And also, like I just mentioned, the first 2, quiz 1 and 2, will be given toward the end. Then the rest of them, 3, 4, and 5, we'll give it when you first come in, because we'll be in with different concepts, and we don't want you to lose your focus. Or sometimes we say we'll lose what we know. So we'll just go ahead and start on with quiz 3, giving those at the beginning of class. And there is only 1 attempt on the quiz. Quizzes are timed at 15 minutes for the 10 questions. Just as the exams are timed, we put the time up on the screen, let it run down, and you take your quiz. In the event that you finish before the time frame is up, you can, venture off, but as long as you come back after that 15 minutes, and we'll reassemble. And then be sure to hit submit when your quiz is completed, so that your score automatically rolls into the grade. But yes, again, I will narrow down your concepts with at least a voice recording each week, so that you can narrow down those your readings, but you still are held accountable. You still have to read everything, but I just kind of narrow down the concepts for you. Exams will be scheduled and given through ExamSoft. Once ExamSoft opens up, which it should be around the 17th or 18th, everyone has to go in. We'll give like a practice exam. And the purpose is if ExamSoft has had updates, you got a new computer, and just sometimes just because things just kind of a little quirky, and they might not, when you've been clicking on ExamSoft for the last however many turns, but you click on it this time and it just won't move, it won't go. So we encourage all students to, including ourselves, we do have to go in and just ensure that our ExamSoft is working, because a lot of times with those updates, whatever those updates are, that one little thing will throw off when we're going inside of ExamSoft. So we do give a practice exam, and it's not like on content, it's just to ensure that your computer is compatible, that your camera is compatible, that all those updates have taken place, so that you do not have any problems on exam day. You won't have that anxiety because you went in and you ensured that whatever device that you will be working on is compatible to ExamSoft. Signing into your ExamSoft for the instructions. They're really, really good about, if you have to submit a help ticket, I'm telling you, they are really, really good. The people, the resources that we utilize in the event that something happens, they're A1 at helping you work through whatever it is. Read the exam description carefully so you know the requirements. There have been times where, especially if you were actually initially, and this is for any course, and the course was canceled, but you were moved into a different section, Ensure when you log into ExamSoft that it shows your correct section, because in the event that you're not in the correct section, you will not be able to take that exam. There's going to be some delay because you're in a, so to speak, a whole different place than where you should be. So if you were originally scheduled in a course that was canceled, any course, make sure when we let you all know that ExamSoft is open, log in to make sure that it matches. If you're in 205 Wednesday at 3 o'clock or 205 Monday at 8:30, make sure your ExamSoft matches. Because in the event you get ready on closer to exam day, you get ready to download, you're not going to be able to do that. And that's going to be just extra stress. So, but we'll let you know just as soon as it opens up so you can go in and make sure that you're ready, you're set with ExamSoft. So with the exams, you are only allowed one attempt. You cannot stop and pause and resume. If you're having technical difficulties during the exam, stop the exam and notify your instructor. These things go for whatever course that you're taking. You can't get to question number 49 and then say, hey, I've been having problems throughout the whole exam. If you're having problems, technical difficulties, stop the exam and then notify us. The exams are timed, so make sure you pay attention to your time, because you run the risk of running out of time, because it's going to do what it needs to do after that time frame has passed by. Anyone with accommodations, we kind of talked about this toward here the last couple of terms. Students were needing accommodations, but we didn't realize it, or the student didn't realize it until maybe toward the end. That's something they should have asked the campus dean about. Everyone has strengths and weaknesses. If you identify something, no matter what it is, it could be that wherever you're having to take your exams at, the connectivity is not good. You're needing extra time. Whatever it is, identify that early on so that the paperwork, the signatures are obtained, or whatever it is that you need to do, that procedure is followed so that you can have those accommodations. Anyone with accommodations, you need to notify your instructor each term at the beginning of the term. If you already have accommodations that have been identified, we have to know at the beginning of each term, because sometimes people need accommodations and they don't need them anymore. So it's not something that continuously roll. So ensure that you notify the instructor at the beginning of your term if you already have accommodations that have been established. And if you're thinking you need some accommodations, talk to your campus dean about the process or the procedure to get those accommodations, or to identify if you need those accommodations. Just because you've had accommodations last term does not mean we know about it. Notifications less than 10 days before an exam may not be able to be granted in time. There's a process that must be followed. So, don't let this week end in the event that you need accommodations, or you think you need accommodations. Do not let this week end without you having a conversation with your campus dean and whomever they have identified to assist you with that process. Exams are held during your scheduled class time. Exceptions only with approval by Dean Brown. Things happen. I'm not sure, things cannot happen, but it might just be that you need to take that exam on campus. Go ahead and be looking at your schedule. Sometimes things are not emergent, but it's just, hey, you just say it's a better thing for you to do to take it on campus, because when you get home, everyone's going to be there and you won't have that quiet place. Go ahead, because it's, mom or dad's birthday. So everybody's coming home. So your house is going to be full. People are going to be busy, whatever. That's just an example. But go ahead and identify the dates of those exams, in which we'll look at those. And if you need to have that exam proctored on campus, you can have it proctored on campus, but there are things that have to be in place, things that have to be approved prior to that happening. You just can't say the exam is tomorrow and you say, hey, today I need that exam proctored. It doesn't work like that. So they do need that at least that 72-hour notice. Exam are on Zoom, and you must have your camera on the entire time. There is no difference than being in the courtroom. I mean, we know that your camera has to be on. And so again, just as a reminder, your cameras have to be on at all times. Exam, class time, if you're walking away from the camera, your camera must be on. Prior to, once you get into the course, you have to show your photo ID. So if you're missing that ID, you lost it over the past 2 weeks, go ahead and be getting you one, because you're gonna need it. You're gonna need that for the exams as well as the specialty exam. You must show your complete testing environment, including your desktop, your walls, size of your computers. And students have been using those boards, those dry erase boards. Go ahead and get you one of those. If you, that person that needs to, you don't have to use those boards for just math. If you're the person that needs to just maybe doodle or write down things while you're taking an exam, go ahead and get you one of those boards. And it's reusable because you just wipe it off and just keep on going for the next time and the next time. Must show your ears if covered. If a tester has a religious exceptions, please ask to discuss the issue with your instructor. Appropriate accommodations, they will be granted. And just don't assume that we know what your accommodations or your special requirements are. Please communicate that to us. It is 8:29 or 9:29 your time. We have less than 30 seconds, but we'll keep talking until my little buzzer goes off. I'm gonna try to stay on track, y'all. So missed exams will be held to the late work policy. What that means, exams missed without prior notice will be a 0. Exams missed for personal reasons will result in a late penalty. And also you have to have your documentation. Exams missed due to emergency will require documentation of the emergency. Okay, so that's our little alarm here. So we're gonna pause, even though we're walking away from the camera for 10 minutes, still leave your cameras on. You can mute. So I'm gonna set my timer here. I'm gonna, let me stop sharing. I'll put us a 10-minute timer. So return in 10 minutes. You can do whatever you need to do during this 10 minutes.
Quite the improvement. I couldn't beat.
Can I turn my camera off for the 10 minutes?
I guess it's a duty free, so that's fine. Even if you have to log off, make sure you're back in 10 minutes. It's just a break. Okay, we have 1 minute and probably about 5 seconds before we officially start back. So go ahead and be getting yourself in position. Which is cameras back on. And again, still in the event that you have to walk away from the camera, during the class time part, which include that's not on your break, leave your camera on and just send a message in the chat. So we have about 40 seconds before we officially start back. If you're having connectivity issues, anything like that, make sure that you're posting that in the chat. Like mine, I'm not sure why it's going light and dark, but I'm sitting in the same place. But things happen, but place it in the chat and we'll move forward. Gonna look at our time here, and we have 6 seconds. All right. Let me get our PowerPoint pulled back up. So you do have three unit exams, and then you have the specialty exam. Everything matters. Everything matters. Each exam, it matters. The unit exams, I want to say it's 20%, no, 50%, and then the HESI is to 20%. But they do matter. Missed exams will be held to the late work policies. Exam missed without prior notice will be a 0. Exams missed for personal reasons will result in late penalty with notification. Exams missed due to an emergency will require documentation of the emergency. Things happen, but just know that you need to provide that documentation. The documentation must be submitted to Dean Brown, your campus dean, and because at the end of the day, we still have to abide by 4-6 guidelines. So that's why they need that documentation. Notification must occur within 24 hours of the scheduled exam. Documentation must be presented prior to the exam being rescheduled. Any exam not rescheduled within 7 days of class time will result in a 0. We haven't been running into any of that, but know that it is a thing. You must take the exam within the 7 days. Even if you are approved to take the exam, late, you still have to take it within the 7 days. And if you think about it, we've moved on to different content, different assignments. And so you don't want to get mixed up with your concepts anyways. Okay, there you go. Contact myself with issues that may prevent you from being successful on the exam before the exam, so that we can work and see what we need to do. And that will be we'll look at the one-on-one, the tutoring, see if you can attend some of the live review exam sessions and the live sessions and other recordings. We tend to share those recordings though. Contacting your instructor with issues after you have submitted your exam has removed any ability of us to work with you. Contact the instructor with issues that may prevent you from being successful on an exam before the exam, so that we can work with you. Contacting the instructor with issues after you have submitted the exam has removed any ability for us to work with you. We want you to be successful, but it requires that communication about the good, bad, and the ugly. So we just have to, identify whatever it is, and we'll talk you through whatever it is that we have to do on our end. We will identify what you need to do on your end, because I say things do happen. Contact the instructor if you have any problems or if you would like just some additional help. Even if you say you think you've mastered all the concepts and you just want that, I really don't need that one-on-one, but just check in and see, we can review some concepts just to make sure. I'll be that sounding board for you. You can run some things through, some ideas or some concepts, your understanding of those concepts, and I can ensure or validate or correct whatever it is, whichever way we need to do with that information. You know, for some reason you all tend to shy away from that 101, but it's okay. We'll have that conversation and you can validate. And if you're giving me incorrect information, we'll provide that correction for you. Planning your time. Remember, we identified early on, procrastination is not our friend. Step one, review your syllabus, identify the things that are required of you. Put it on your calendar, schedule that block of time so that you can complete those assignments. It might be on your break at work, you know, whatever that is, at 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 30-minute break. You need to manage the schedule on the days that you work, that you go in and just look at your syllabus, that you look at the assignments, that you look at your reading materials for that, during that break. Whatever it is, identify those blocks of times and schedule that time with yourself so that you can complete those required readings, so that you can review and follow the instructions for each assignment. Those rubrics are there. You can essentially grade yourself with the rubrics. Scan the rubrics and see, have you met the requirement in order to get the points. You want to title assignments per course nomenclature, submit work per assignment instructions. And this is just an example of pulling everything to your calendar from the syllabi. And that way, sometimes it does, it help you plan and organize and make more sense of out of the things that we have just listed here. So just pull them to your calendar, whether that's electronic or hard copy. Late work would not be accepted without prior approval from the instructor. If the instructor approves the submission of a late assignment, points will be deducted from the assignment as follows. And we talked about that early on. Late work would not be accepted without prior written approval from the instructor. Approved late work submitted by the student will be graded along with other weekly submissions for the next grading period. So you do not get another set of due dates because you turned in something late. The due dates, they remain as they are. NCLEX questions from Saunders Comprehensive Review. For this, it says the NCLEX RN examination, but you do have the NCLEX for the LPN. And these questions are just to prepare you for what's coming. That NCLEX is that exam is there. Once you master all of your courses, you do have to sit for that exam to get your state licensure. So, but once you submit, once you take the NCLEX questions, however many that they're asking you to take, there should be a printout. A screenshot is not acceptable for your NCLEX questions. You should have that PDF, and that's what you need to upload. Once submitted, the score you have, and you can take those as many times as you want to. You can repeat the questions as many times as you like to obtain the highest score. Turn in your highest score, and whatever you have on that PDF, that's the score that will be recorded for you. And then studies have shown, you know, students that are doing those NCLEX questions and reading those rationales and all of that, they've been really successful with the boards. And also at the end of the day, providing the best care for their patients. Writing papers and discussion posts. So you do have a writing assignment and it must go through the paper checker. I call it the paper checker, but it checks all your references and all of that. So you want to ensure, we've given you some examples and we'll give you some more examples of how to cite and reference the information that you have. You want to start looking at some tutorials on paraphrasing, because you will need to paraphrase and be able to cite or reference the information that you will submit in that paper. And it goes through the paper checker, which it tells us whether or not you have just copied and pasted. And in the event that you have, the grade will reflect that. So the paper assignments will guide the development of professional goals relative to the profession. And you know, because you're transitioning into one of the leaders of the healthcare team. And so with that, you will be on teams and in places, in settings where you will help write policies. You will be on committees. And so This paper will help you identify your strengths and your weaknesses and identify those things that you need to work on, so that when you transition to your role as the nurse and you're on these committees and you're that charge nurse or whatever those titles are that you might have in those settings, that you're able to identify resources to provide the best care, and also identify when you need help so that you can provide the best care. Because sometimes facilities have certain resources, but then they need other resources depending on that person's situation. But you as that leader will be the person that will have to advocate and be that voice for that patient. So you want to follow and review and follow all instructions. If it says submitted, your paper should be saved with a certain heading. That's what you need to do. You want to, again, I can't stress enough, citing the information and paraphrasing so that it will not appear that you have plagiarized. And we'll look at the assignments closer once we actually get into the modules. Again, just follow your grading rubric. You can take your rubric and your assignment, you can grade it yourself. In the event that you do not see all the things under the excellent category, you can grade your paper yourself. And if not, go back and reword and revise. Tips for papers and discussion questions. You want to use APA format. There's some resources out there that you can use to help you cite your references. You want to use nursing journals. Make sure that the information that you're using is no more than 5 years old. Make sure that the topic is related to what we're talking about. You want to summarize those key points. Start paraphrasing, putting things into your own words. You want to give your rationale or your reason for your argument. What's your why? What is your supportive data? Okay, taking exams and quizzes. So we talked about once ExamSoft opens up, making sure that your computer and everything is compatible and you're ready to go for exam day. So there will be a sample exam, so to speak, and that's just so that you go in and just make sure everything is, all your buttons and whistles are working. If you start the exam or the quiz, you must complete it. You will not get another opportunity to attempt the exam. So communicate in the event that you're having problems. You cannot get to question number 49 and say, hey, I've been having problems throughout the whole exam. Technical issues during a quiz or exam, or even during class time, please communicate. Do not continue or try to continue if you are having technical difficulties. Notify the instructor immediately. We're in the room, raise your hand. Now, of course, once the exam starts, we communicate via chat, but you can raise your virtual hand or put in the chat, hey, I need some assistance, something's going on. We will verify the issue. Many times we'll refer you to ExamSoft and they work out whatever it is. Sometimes you just need a resume code. And in the event that that is what you need, it will tell you on the screen to ask for a resume code. And we'll give that to you. ExamSoft generates that for us and we give that, but communicate that. Things faculty will not do: allow a retake on an exam due to technical problems or other physical or emotional issues when majority of all the questions have been answered by the student or time has run out. Please communicate. Specialty exams, they're given that last during week 11 for all the courses. They are given in a proctored environment. Each campus has their own rules for scheduling that, and we'll let you know that at that moment in time. We'll, you know, whatever information that campus gives to us, we'll forward it on to you. There's only one attempt at the HESI. Geriatrics will have 2 attempts, so that's that one exception. You will have an assigned date and time for the exam. And I know this, I forget which campus it was last term, but everyone essentially tested in that week. But then there was that one campus, I'm not sure what the issue was. I think it was probably proctoring, and so it moved them to that very, very last week on that Monday. But that's fine. Whatever it is that your campus needs, it will be communicated to you. Okay, and the benchmark for the exam is 900. And I tell you, you all can do it. You all have been doing really, really well on those exams. So all the different learning activities, the homework assignments that we have been doing is showing in that one-on-one, that review sessions, there's evidence that those things have helped because you all have been rocking those HESIs. Remediation is mandatory to receive your HESI score. Remediation consists of completing 100% of the remediation time. And we provide this schedule to you of the required time during that, that last week of those last 2 weeks of course. So remediation packets are to be submitted by 1 a.m. Tuesday of week 12. Failure to complete 100% of the remediation will result in a HESI score of a 0. And so it's recorded in there, your time, everything is timestamped. But we're not going to have any problems with that. Exam security, you must show your photo ID, your school badge. Even if not asked, just have it on hand. If you need to go get a replacement, go ahead and put that on your to-do list because you have to show that badge. You must be on camera at all times. Full face must be visible. That you must have that side view of your workstation. Failure to show photo ID or not being fully visible at any point may result in the exam and/or course failure. Are you prepared to sit for the specialty exam? What remediation could your online instructor review with you to help prepare? We do have HESI reviews, just like we have the unit exam reviews. What concepts covered in your homework assignments that you find challenging or difficult to understand? Because most of the time, that's what you need to start with when you're reviewing and prepping for that HESI. All the different assignments that you are being given is to help you to prepare you for that HESI. So embrace each one of them with each assignment wholeheartedly because it's just preparation for what's to come, the HESI, the NCLEX, and you taking care of your whole patient and being providing that best care that you can. Be prepared to discuss how care is continued once the patient is discharged from an acute care facility. How can a nurse maintain professionalism if they are not part of the hospital-based system? Do the requirements for a nurse change based upon the surroundings they work in? What is the nurse's accountability, whether on or off duty? Okay. Any questions about any of that information we just reviewed on our orientation PowerPoint? Okay, next thing we'll do is we will show what this camera's doing. We'll rotate in. Let's look at our syllabus and our modules. Let me get that pulled up and I'll share my screen. Okay, get the syllabus pulled up here. Make it larger so we can see it. A bit too large. So the syllabus is your roadmap for where we're going and all those things that you'll be responsible for. So concepts of leadership and collaboration, it introduces you to begin to prioritize things, delivering that care, coordinating and thinking about the others on the healthcare team, identifying all those things that your person need. So that I know you all have heard the term next gen, select all that apply. But if you think about it, there's rarely a patient that just has one thing. Even if you're in the emergency room, that person comes in because they broke her arm or leg. That person may also have diabetes, may also have hypertension. So select all that apply the next gen, using that clinical judgment The patient comes in, well, you're in that long-term care facility and the person is a diabetic. It has been established that they are stable with just receiving routine insulin. Their normal level of consciousness is their usual wake alert, orient times 3, person, place, and time. But you go in to give their insulin before supper and they're hard to arouse. So your clinical judgment, some things should start to turn, some connections should be made, some bells and whistles should be going on. Well, wait a minute. I know they're on this routine insulin, but usually, they're alert, awake, easy to arouse, and orient times, person, place, and time. I can't get Miss Susie to wake up. So that next gen, using that clinical judgment, prioritizing, coordinating that care. If the person is in your facility and they're there for rehab, for the physical therapy, for the occupational therapy, it needs to be communicated as the leader to the patient care tech or the CNA. Hey, when you're providing your ADLs, even if it's one person, two persons assist, you need to do Miss Susie first because she is, or Mr. Bob first, because OT, PT will be working with them. They'll be here. They usually come, those people are rarely in-house and they usually come pretty early. So, delivering that care, coordinating that care, communicating, all that's needed to provide that best care for that person. So we do meet once a week together, but you do have activities during the week that you must complete and also that you'll work on up until, we'll look at the modules here in a minute. Some things are not due until week 6, but you must start working on those things this week, for sure early next week, in order to complete all the requirements for that activity. Let's just go back and look at our course objectives here. So your learning outcomes provide a safe patient care with a focus of continuous quality improvement. And I don't know if you remember, I mentioned early on, identifying when you need assistance, when you realize that the things, the tools, the resources that you have, you need something else. So that you can provide that safe care. So identifying that, being able to communicate that. Another learning outcome is demonstrating competency within your scope of practice. And so there are times when you're working on a team in a setting and someone will ask you to do something. Sometimes they just don't know that that's not in your scope of practice. And sometimes they do, they just ask you to do things that you're not supposed to do. That's not in your scope of practice, but you need to know what your scope of practice is so that you can provide that safe care so that you do not end up causing harm and end up being sued. So you need to know your scope of practice so that you can provide that patient, that safe care, so that you can prevent those infections, so that you can provide the correct medication. So you don't do any medication, so that you do not administer medications inappropriately. But that 1 hour before, so you stay within your window, 1 hour after, so that you can identify when someone's having a reaction, an adverse reaction. So establish and maintain effective interpersonal and therapeutic relationships that contribute to that plan of nursing care. You might end up being on that care plan team. Care plans, they've got a bad rap, but that individualized care is what we need to take the best care of our patient. And it's all the way down to Miss Susie just needs her meal tray set up. Miss Susie needs to be completely fed. Miss Susie is coughing when she's eating, she's pocketing food. Those things need to be identified and communicated so that we can provide the best care for that person, individualized care. So the nursing process, we can't get away from that critical thinking, that problem solving. I gave you an example just a few minutes ago about walking in and the patient normally is awake and alert and responding to us, but they're on that routine insulin. And so what do? Do you just go ahead and give that insulin, even though that that that's not their norm? You do a quick assessment. You know, is the skin cool and clammy? Do we do a finger stick? You know, do we call the doctor? What do we do? What do we do? So our course objectives, we do have 8 main objectives. You will create a professional development plan related to developing competence as a member of the healthcare team. You're going to relate ethical and legal standards to the clinical leadership role of the practical nurse. You're going to contribute to the plan of care as a member of the interdisciplinary healthcare team. You're going to apply that critical thinking to case scenarios involving leadership and collaboration. You're going to implement effective critical thinking and problem solving skills in planning and prioritizing. You're going to be able, we're going to talk about communication. And we're going to discuss the theories of leadership and fellowship. We talked about the KGA already. So we do have in our instructional methods, we use Kahoots. We do put you in groups. We let you talk through it, whole groups, small groups. We show videos. We do jam boards. We mix it up because we do know people have different learning styles, and we try to address all of those learning styles. At the end of the day, we are here so that you will have all your tools so that you can provide the best safe care for your patient or your client. We talked about grading already. The HESI exam. We talked about late policy. Okay, so the course outline, this is one way of looking at it, but we're going to actually pop over to the module so you can look at it in a different view. But for week 1, we look at you have that discussion question that you should complete. Several of you have already started posting. You do have reading, chapters 4 and 12. And then even though you just have 2 chapters this week, next week you have 3, go ahead and start pre-reading or at least glancing and looking at the objectives for these other chapters in the event that you make it through these 2 chapters here, because that, you have more than one class and things will start to pile up on you. So you want to start planning so that you have a nice balance. So I'm just going to skim on through the end and we're going to look at the modules in detail. Okay. Let's flip to our modules. So ask questions if you're having any. Make sure that, just as a reminder, make sure that your cameras are on. In the event that you have to walk away, place a message in the chat. All right, let's go to our modules. Okay, so you should have already taken your syllabus quiz. Ensure that you have the correct ebook because they've changed to the 10th edition. And you should have completed your technology literacy check. So did you all check to make sure that you had the 10th edition? Because they just changed it this term. So make sure that you have that. And once you're reading, and I'm sure you all know this, but if you click on the links as you work your way in the course room, it automatically takes you to those readings and the information that you need. Okay, my screen is loading. I'm just sharing the modules. So we're going to look at the modules here. Okay, so week 1. Just going to look at these and make sure we have it all. So you have 2 chapters, chapter 4 and chapter 12, if I'm not mistaken. So we'll look at the history of nursing leadership. And I have a couple of little videos that we'll look at, just some of them. So you should just look and see how things evolve over time. And then we'll talk about your scope of practice for week 1. We have populated all the PowerPoints, so you do already have those. It is chapter 4 and chapter 12. And you look at your role, the nursing process in your role. The PowerPoints are here. Okay. So the professional development plan is not due until week 6, but you need to go ahead and start working on it this week. It is a Word document that consists of 3 to 4 pages. And you have to, when you save it, you must save it as they're giving you an example here. Everything matters. So be sure that from down to saving your document, that you're actually doing that correctly. You want to go ahead and start just looking at all the things that you need to do in order to complete this professional development plan. It includes a self-assessment. You have to identify and outline your next steps for your personal and your professional development. And the tools and the tasks that you need to do, that you need to complete the assignment are here. But it is not due until week 6, you all, but there are several components and parts to it. So ensure that you are looking at that and identifying what you need to do. Write your roadmap map out to complete that. We do have a discussion question, and it's about the role of the LPN, LVN. You're introducing yourself and just telling us what helped you choose Fortis for your degree. You know, why do you want to be a nurse? What do you hope to learn from this course? Let's go back over here. So week 2, you have another discussion question. Week 2 is next week, but in addition to that discussion question, we have that first quiz. First quiz we'll take toward the end of class. First of all, I'll give you a recording to narrow down the concepts. So make sure that you review that and know that we will take it in class with the camera on during that 15 minutes that we have allotted. Quiz 1 is next week. In addition to that, you have a week 2 discussion. Week 3, you have quiz 2, which quiz 2 we'll give toward the end of class, because then you would have settled in and you'll be hopefully a little bit more in the move, the go of things, how things are going. Then you have your NCLEX questions. Remember, you can take your NCLEX questions as many times as you can, as you like. Submit the highest score in the PDF format, and then that score will be automatically recorded in the gradebook. Our first exam is week 4. So be on the lookout for a live review, exam sessions, those dates and times, as well as those recordings. You have another discussion question. Let me open this one up. And then along the way, you should still be working on that paper. That paper is nothing that you can just do like the night before, you all. It's nothing that you can do the night before. We're gonna look at the principles of ethics, the Nurse Practice Act, signed consent, confidentiality, and HIPAA. Okay. Each week there, for the most part, they're just 2 chapters, but nevertheless, some of them are lengthy. So making sure if you have a little bit more time the previous week, just go ahead and start looking into the next chapter for the next week. The PowerPoints are there. So then you have another discussion question about diversity, providing that cultural competence care. And you do want to, with all of your discussion questions, your initial post should be that Wednesday of that week. And then you need to respond to at least 2 of your fellow students, your classmates, by that Sunday. Remember, it's Pacific time. Your course, your class, the things that are in the course are Pacific time. Your class times are Eastern time. And you may not be in either one of those time zones, because I'm actually in Central. So I have to just make sure I'm keeping up with what time it really is. Okay, let's see. Unit 1 exam. That's week 4. And if you are, and I think they kind of work this out too, there have been times where you've had 2 exams on the same day. So make sure that you are pre-planning and looking at all of that. If you're taking multiple courses, When are those exams? When are those quizzes? For the most part, you have a quiz every week if you're not having an exam. But those exams, those big exams, you want to make sure, that you're allowing enough time to complete the assignments and also reviewing the content, because it's cumulative, it's several things on those exams. Okay, so week 5, we're looking at leadership skills, management, delegation. That's a big one, that delegation. And you have your chapter 17, that collaboration and leading and managing. And again, if you use these links that's off in the Canvas, it takes you directly to the things and the resources that you need. NCLEX questions, we talked about those. Submit the PDF to get your grade. Take it as many times as you need.
Are you gonna give us the topics for the NCLEX questions?
They are already populated, and if they're not, we will. For the most part, it's already populated, but if not, we will. Okay, so unit exam 2 is was it week 6? No, 5, 6, 7, week 7. Let me make sure. Let's see. It's week 6, it's week 6. Going back to the NCLEX questions, like I said, studies have shown students that take those questions and look over the rationales, even if you missed the question, reading that question, what is the correct answer, why was the correct answer, and going over all those answer choices, A, B, C, D, reviewing that, studies have shown students have really, really mastered the HESIs and the NCLEXs, never mind providing that best care for your patient, because you're looking at everything. You're looking at why the wrong answer wasn't, why was it the wrong answer, what you should not do. You're looking at everything, all aspects of patient care. So those NCLEX questions have really, really, they have data that shows that has helped. Okay, and then we have quiz 4. We have another discussion in week 7. And then here it is, week 8, that position paper. Let's look at it. So for this, the course objectives that you'll be, just so look at your course objectives, like what is the point? What am I supposed to take? What's my takeaway? What should, what's my deliverables? What is this assignment all about? So, okay, I have to create a PowerPoint presentation, 10 to 12 slides. And I should have a reference slide, and then I need to save it in this format. But what am I creating a PowerPoint about? Well, let's go up here. My course objectives is, my focus is going to be leadership, communication, and critical thinking. So the assignment details. So this is how you should start looking at all your assignments, looking at how am I supposed to submit this assignment? What format is it supposed to be in? And then what's my content? So it's telling us to read pages 1 through 18. And all these links are live, so you can just click on them and go right to it. You're going to create a PowerPoint presentation. You want to include a title slide and a reference slide. You want to prepare a note section. You must have a note section with your PowerPoints. So if you're not familiar with PowerPoint, you may want to do a tutorial on PowerPoints, because for this assignment, just having the PowerPoint would not gain a completion of the assignment. You must have the PowerPoint slides and the note section for each slide that contains core lecture content to be conveyed when you're presenting. So you should have your notes. Are we clear on, are you all understanding what I'm saying? Sometimes, in the past, I'm sure you've created some PowerPoints. You may or may not have that note section, but it is a requirement for this assignment. For each slide that you have a note section. You want to include visuals such as charts and tables. These can be things that you created or have, pulled from some resources. Make sure that you give your references. You should have a minimum of 2 references. You want to upload the presentation to the position paper presentation in Canvas during week 8. And then here you can download your rubric. 10 to 12 slides, title slide and a reference slide. And you must have a note section for each slide. I think this is where most of the students lose their points because they don't have that note section. Because that is why I'm just repeating that. Make sure. Okay. All right, so we were down to 8. Okay, and so week 9, we do have that quiz, that last quiz, which we'll take at the beginning of class. You do have those reading assignments. In week 10, you have the last exam, exam 3. And then, like I mentioned, prior to the exams, we do have live review schedule. So be looking out for that, but you have your weekly readings. And then week 11, you have those HESIs. So once we finish with, that last exam, that very next week, you will be taking your HESI. And the time really after that 6th week, things start moving so fast. So just make sure, that you don't get behind and that you identify those resources early on that you need, which it might be that one-on-one or whatever that is. Okay. So now we're going to mix it up a little bit. Any questions about your syllabus or those modules or your assignments? Any questions about any of that? All right.
I have a question. I was in and out. So we do have a group project for this term?
No, not for this one, I don't believe.
Oh yeah, that's amazing. That's all I care about. Thank you.
I'm gonna go back through the modules to make sure, but not this one, I don't think. No, not this class, I don't believe. So, but we'll see if I'm incorrect, I'll remind you, hey, I was wrong. You do have a group assignment, but I don't think so for this one. But, the assignments all assignments, you need to complete them, whether or not it's group or not, complete them to the best of your ability. In the event that something is preventing you to complete assignments to the best of your ability, whether or not it's group or individual, communicate that. Do not wait until the group assignment is due or the individual assignment is due to say, hey, I've been having a problem. So that's the takeaway from that. All right, so I am going to just let you all be in a group for about 7 minutes. We have just a little single case study. It's nothing big. It's on communication. I am going to post it in the course room real quick here. And we'll give you 7 minutes to look at it and talk about it. And we're going to bring you back to whole group. Save as. So again, whether or not you're having problems with individual work or group work, please communicate that before the due date, so that we can identify what we need to do, some things that you might need to do. All right, let's see here. That's here. This is just a very, very small, it's really like an icebreaker case study. It's small and it's on communication. And I just randomly put you in a group to work for 7 minutes, talk it through, and I'll bring you back together as a whole group and we will talk about it. And that probably will take us up to our next break here. Let me put a title to it. Okay, let's see here. Okay, so what are we getting ready to do? We're just doing a little icebreaker on communication. So I'm going to randomly place you into groups. You should have just got a ding. I just placed a case study in the announcement section. It's one, not even a whole paragraph, but read through it, talk to it as a group, and we'll come back and discuss it as a whole group. So I'm going to just open the breakout rooms, just randomly place you in a group and accept the invitation. I'm going to set the timer for 7 minutes and we'll come back together here. Let's see how many of us are on here. Okay, here we go. Accept the invitation. Go to the announcement section. I just posted this little case study. It's like one paragraph. And talk about it, discuss it, and we'll come back together as a whole group and discuss it and open our rooms. Accept the invitation. We'll see you in 7. Miss Bug, Miss Bug, Adriana. Accept the invitation to go to the breakout room.
Okay, go to sleep. Hello, are we in breakout rooms? My computer had kicked me out.
Yes, I'll assign you to a room here.
Okay.
Okay, you should receive the invitation. We're opening up a case study that I just posted. It's a real short case study. And you all are going to discuss it, and then I'm going to bring you back in about 7 minutes. Close on. All right, come on back in, and we're gonna take our last 10-minute break at the end, so we only have about maybe 15 minutes left. So let's look at this case study once we get everyone back in. And it was a fairly short one. So come on back in, everyone. All right. Let me get it pulled up here so we can look at it as a whole group. There was a question about that PowerPoint presentation with the notes. Did the 10 to 11 slides include the reference slide? No, that's besides the reference in the title. So you have the title and the reference, and then your meat in between are those other slides with slides with notes. Okay, let me share my screen here. Okay. All right, so we have this 26-year-old male Spanish only speaking client that's requesting to be seen at the Minor Med walk-in clinic. The client points to his gash on his forehead and left arm, and then points out to the window where his car is sitting with a huge dent in the back. He tries to communicate with the nurse and staff, but no one speaks Spanish. The car is checked by staff for other passengers in the car, but it is empty. So it appears that he's the only person that was in the vehicle. The patient's wallet obtains the client's ID, no insurance information, and also several telephone numbers were there. All right, so choose the most likely option for the information missing from the statements below by selecting from the list of options provided. Okay, so the nurse recognizes that a blank is needed to facilitate communication with the client. From option 1, what are we picking? What do we pick?
Medical
interpreter.
In medical interpreter, okay. What else? So what's the most
Spanish speaking nurse.
Okay. And who else could we incorporate in there too?
Oh, she was right.
Family member, yes. So yes, the medical interpreter, they have those. You may, in fact, can be a nurse interpreter. So if you speak more than one language, that can be a another.
So is this like two answers to it? I was kind of confused by both of the lines, but it said one in the middle.
Right here, number 1, you're gonna look right here. This one right here. You're gonna look over here and options for 1, and then options for number 2 are over here.
So there's 2 answers for 1.
Where there's only one answer, which you all got it correct, was the medical interpreter. But in the event that a medical interpreter was not available, what else? Who else could we identify to help?
Okay, I see. There was just 2 lines up there, and that kind of threw me off.
Yes, the little line is the 1 and the 2 are not underscored. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Okay. So for number 2, factors will complicate the treatment of a motorcycle accident victim. What factors?
Insurance coverage,
Mm-hmm.
communication.
What's the most important? What's priority that will complicate treatment? First off,
Communication.
communication, exactly. And then we do know that insurance coverage. Hey, exactly. What about lack of family? How would that complicate his treatment?
Lack of medical
He
history.
can't like speak or nothing, so they might not know how to treat him.
Exactly, because if we're relying on, if we can't get to interpreter, we don't have a Spanish speaking nurse, if we're relying on family, there's no family there, then it may complicate, slow down, treatment. What does religion have to do with treatment? How would that impact someone's treatment?
Some people, like some religions, don't accept blood,
Mhm.
or if they need a transfusion or something like that, they don't accept it. So you would have to see what other options.
Great.
Some people won't listen to male or female nurses. They won't listen to
Mhm.
females. They don't want a
Exactly.
female nurse.
Exactly. Exactly. Great. And all those wishes are granted, we identify others on the healthcare team that might can provide that care. Good. All right. And so we didn't take our break. And so we're going to pause here. But if you want to stay on and ask me questions, or you can, otherwise you're free to go. We'll see you next week.
Have a good one, Miss Ford.
You too. Thank
Y'all
you.
have a good night.
Have a good evening.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Cassandra, you need something?